Oh, just a little bit of friendly banter between the two of them. It is a fair point that both these players seem to be underestimating their own skill as we move through the tournament here. All right, game number 3 between Zuzani and Blackmagic. Blackmagic doing a good job to pick up game number 1, despite the fact that he looked pretty far behind as Zuzani moved into an Offworld, where Zuzani managed to hold on and kind of weather that black market storm in game number 2 and pick it up with those adrenaline-boosted Offworlds. So kind of curious to see what these guys will do with game number 3. Once again, we've got actually a map not too dissimilar from these other ones. Plentiful in silicon, iron, and aluminum. Lacking when it comes to carbon and water. Looks like there is enough water for 2 players, almost certainly. Carbon, I definitely would not want to be scavenger this game, so I'm almost certain we're going to see something different out of Blackmagic. And it is going to be Zuzani who founds first. He grabs up a huge patch of iron and water for himself, prevents Blackmagic from taking any of that just yet this game, and he is probably, we're just going to see 3 steel mills on at it. Zuzani right away. He's secured plenty of aluminum for himself, getting the nice prices there against his opponent, and I would love to see him just buy up some steel right now, honestly. Drive that price up against his expansive opponent, or just buy iron. Look at this. Blackmagic has gone into 2 steel mills. This is a very, very dangerous move. We definitely want to see something else coming down from him soon. So he is going to go ahead and commit into that iron. He has not taken aluminum himself yet either. That's very interesting. Both of these players foregoing that on HQ level 1. You can see that these steel mills are not making too much of a profit right now, just plus 16, plus $15. And Zuzani did have the potential to, if he wanted, try and sell out of some of his other resources like steel, for example, and buy into that aluminum for the time being and kind of slow down Blackmagic's production. But he chose to forego that. He is just rushing on up to HQ level 2, grabbing up a couple water tiles. Those will likely go into food. That's the usual expectation for those early water tiles, and grabbing some aluminum. Zuzani pointing out that there are EMPs, again, available on this map. He needs to be careful putting too many of his buildings next to each other. However, he is scientific, and that will make him far more resistant to the black market than he has been yet during this series. It'll be interesting to see if that has much of an impact on this game. Once we're done with this auction, we'll take a nice look at what black market is actually available this game. 20,000, 24. That's pretty much what you expect here. 24,000 over to Blackmagic would not surprise me at all. That's going to be a hefty sum of debt for him, almost 50,000 at this stage of the game. However, he founded so late compared to his opponent that that should be just fine. He should be able to take that on, go ahead and grab that extra claim. And once he hits HQ level 2, that's going to be a lot of claims already for Blackmagic. 2 extras, 1 from the auction, 1 from the fact that he is, of course, expansive. Let's go ahead and go through and take a look at the black market at this point. We do have magnetic storms available. No pirates, but magnetic storms, which can occasionally be very, very strong against scientific players if they are forced to place their buildings and take advantage of their bonus over the course of this game. And it feels like Zuzani might be forced into that for some of his water tiles eventually, but there isn't too much water available on the map, so it's hard to say if the magnetic storm will seriously come into play. We've also got EMPs, power surges, network viruses, underground nukes, mutinies, and goon squads, all things that we have seen already over the course of this series. And then, of course, the ever-ridiculous spy, still very useful even without holograms, just for checking to see if that goon squad is there, right where you need to hit. Having a spy down against your opponent when you need to be utilizing black market can make all the difference in the world. Let's see. Blackmagic has been forced to kind of turn his steel mills off, as Zuzani is just selling down steel without ever changing iron's price whatsoever. So finally it kind of tanked to the point where Blackmagic can't really utilize his steel mills very effectively anymore. Instead, he is going to be moving into aluminum. He's got some glass down, he's secured some silicon, he's secured some water. Very standard stuff we've been seeing from Blackmagic all tournament, just making sure that once he's got HQ level 2, he grabs up the best of the best of the resources that are on this map, and that's exactly what he's trying to do here this game once again. Also has gone ahead and moved into a geotherm just to give himself that nice power, and it also blocks off Zuzani from that potential, unlikely, but potential superconductor geotherm play that was available to him. It is worth noting Zuzani has driven up that glass price. However, with Blackmagic having his own glass furnace down, it's hard to say if that'll have much of an impact on this game. Although he has managed to secure plenty of it already for HQ level 4. And that's also going to kind of drive Blackmagic away from food just a little bit more. Make sure that Zuzani is going to have all those profits that he wants from those farms that he's got down. What is this going down right here? What is happening with this tile? Not entirely sure, honestly. Is this... Well, we've got financial instruments coming out. It's hard to value financial instruments here. It looks like both these players really would like it. As long as they don't have to worry about debt, it is just a little bit of extra money occasionally. Zuzani's going to end up taking it for 18,000. So he will be getting, you know, a nice small sum of cash every day at noon from Blackmagic's debt that he's got going on. And let's see. Zuzani pushing into some power of his own. Blackmagic not too far behind on expansions at this point, despite his slightly later found. Can you tell I haven't done this for a while, guys? I can feel it, that's for sure. Solar panels coming out for Zuzani, though, should help him out a little bit. I'm really curious to see what Blackmagic's going to do. I like the additional glass furnaces. Zuzani, having already driven up that glass price, makes glass a bit more viable for Blackmagic. He can pretty easily move into 2, maybe even 3 glass furnaces and still be okay.
Market is online.
And obviously that silicon price on just 2 glass furnaces shouldn't affect him too much, as he's simply supplying his own silicon from the high tile that he picked up on HQ level 2. No claims left for Zuzani. That's where you want to be. He's decided what to do with all of them. Interestingly enough, picking up some silicon for himself along with his solar panels. Whereas Blackmagic, he still has some claims left over. Can't really decide what to do with them. He's actually going to go into an additional steel mill because his steel got frozen. I don't mind that too much. Can't decide what to do? Just throw down steel. I like that option for an expansive player. Usually very inexpensive to do. Almost always going to be helpful eventually. So that works for me. I do not mind that even a little bit. Zuzani should be... Yep. There's HQ level 4 over to Zuzani. Blackmagic hopefully won't be too far behind for him. However, he is going to have to worry about this freeze. It is impacting him pretty heavily at this point. And on top of that, he just has a hard time attacking into Zuzani. He's got a power surge and a mutiny saved up, and yet he hasn't selected to use either one yet. I'm wondering if he's distracted, if he's forgotten about them, if he kind of picked them up, but wasn't sure what he wanted to do with them in the moment, was just kind of using up that black market cooldown. And so I'm worried that he's got this like cash just sitting around that he hasn't done anything with yet, because that's $6,000 committed to those black market effects. And if he had those in his pocket right now, he'd be very close to HQ level 4, just about $2,000 away. And that's just a few seconds, honestly, of his production right now. Alright, the power surge did come down onto the glass furnaces. Zuzani has actually set up glass furnaces out here. That's insane to me. Alright, once again, power surge onto some steel. And the players will be fighting over a core sample at this point. Blackmagic looks like just going to grab that for 6,000. Core samples, definitely a not heavily utilized black market item. Mostly used by scientists as kind of a gamble on, can I get some free resources for my production next to my base? Definitely an interesting thing to see. But I think the most interesting thing so far this game is honestly these glass furnaces. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. If Blackmagic can pay enough attention to know if shipments that are leaving these glass furnaces are full, and hit them with strong magnetic storms, these are going to be kind of difficult to utilize properly. Zuzani is going to have to pay very close attention to them. And on top of that, he's got to ship oxygen all the way on out, and then he's got to try and get glass all the way back. And I'm very concerned about this. This is a lot of money that ends up just sitting around away from your base, because you've got to commit so much oxygen out just to get these guys started. Like, they're not doing anything yet. Obviously, they're frozen. But even if they weren't frozen, they'd just be sitting there like, we don't have oxygen. What are we supposed to do? Here's another one coming out, finally. I guess these aren't frozen anymore. They just kind of have the animation going. Look, guys, things are weird. Spectator mode can be a little bit difficult to decipher at times. They are goon squatted. That's a little nice, but I really don't much like the glass furnaces that early. Or just that far away. Having to ship all that oxygen out. Back over to Blackmagic, now that we've talked that to death. We can see he does have dry ice condensers down. I love these for sure, this map. Look at all that oxygen he is pulling in. That is fantastic. Absolutely the kind of thing you want to be doing this game, I think. Oh, man. I really like the dry ice. I really think that HQ level 4 went to Blackmagic this time. I think that's pretty ridiculous. That's not going to be a full glass. But it is still going to get hit by that magnetic storm. I think that might have picked up an oxygen as well. And with that kind of move, with these plays, that means that Blackmagic has actually managed to push himself into the lead here in upgrades. As an expansive player, we've never really taken a good look at Offworlds this game. That is going to be important to note at this point. They aren't great. They're usable because there are a lot of resources hovering kind of near that $400 mark. But they aren't fantastic. There are no adrenaline boosts to go with them. It's going to be interesting to see what these players can do to actually try and close out this game. All right. It's going to be another Geo on over to Blackmagic. I'm sure he's going to be happy about that. Zuzani just a little bit behind with his expansion, but I think you could really feel that slowdown that hit him because of committing to these glass furnaces way out in the middle of nowhere. All right, electronics factories coming down for Blackmagic, whereas Zuzani, he seems to have selected reactors, is what he's going to be transitioning into, kind of scooting his steel over a little bit to make room for some reactors, and he still has that goon squad just sitting there right in the middle of all this. So even if something like an EMP were to come in, he would possibly be well defended, depending on exactly where Blackmagic goes ahead and puts that EMP. We do see reactors down for both players, in fact. I'm really curious about these electronics factories. A lot of people seem to like to throw up electronics factories, but you always have to question it when an electronics factory comes out and it's making $18, whereas these reactors are like 120. These dry ice condensers that are 130 almost. It's always an interesting decision. I don't really know why we see it quite so often from all these players. Maybe somebody can explain that for me in the chat or in comments later. All right. Glass surplus coming out is not the kind of thing that Zuzani is going to want to see, especially because with the way Zuzani's glass is kind of working, he can't just sell it all down immediately, right? He can send the second he sees that surplus incoming, and this glass is not going to get there in time for him to have done anything about it. Blackmagic was a little late selling out of his glass, but he did manage to get it done at some point at least, although the surplus did hurt him as well. I don't know, guys. This one's still a difficult one to call. Neither player has really moved, in my opinion, to take a serious edge this game. But most of the time, when that's the case in a 1v1, and no player has really come out super ahead, I always want to hand it to the expansive player. And it is going to be Blackmagic, it looks like, who makes that first move to really take a serious lead in the game. He is the first one to do something like commit to a major building like an Offworld market. He's got his started. It's almost done at this point. Just about 5 seconds away on that. It's going to start launching food almost immediately. And Blackmagic's actually also committed into some engineering laboratories, which can make him a bit more resistant to the scientists doing something like playing with water too much to drive up food prices and make the off-world less viable. All kinds of small things like that. Geotherm actually goes completely unclaimed. I do want to see Blackmagic go ahead and grab this geotherm fairly soon. He does have a fairly large supply of steel available that he could use for that. But I also wouldn't be too surprised, honestly, if we see another Offworld come down right here. Blackmagic's just got this empty tile sitting around. Although I'm still concerned about these engineering labs. I mean, like I said, they can be useful against a scientist to kind of make you resistant to him playing with prices too much. Or you could just build some hacker arrays. A hacker array, you know? The electronics factories do fade. Blackmagic has all the electronics he needs to get an additional Offworld online. Looks like he's identified that fact. I wouldn't be surprised to see food coming down for him. That's kind of what I want to see, is him start his own food production. I don't like that he's upgrading electronics production at one lab. The other one is sitting around doing nothing. He's got one food upgrade right now. but he doesn't have any electronics production going on. He doesn't have any food going on just yet. He's just kind of struggling to actually make those transitions happen. It looks like he wanted to commit to that second off-world market, which does open up a vulnerability for him. But given that there's just mutinies available this game and no dynamites, it might still work out in his favor, because he can always mutiny things back as fast as his opponent can mutiny them away. So instead, Zuzani might need to get aggressive against these with things like EMPs and power surges this game. That's what I'm going to want to see. All right, Blackmagic, what do you got? What do you got for us? This food's finally coming online. Still just one engineering lab plugging away this whole time instead of two. Hacker arrays sitting around dead. But once again, Zuzani, he's just got the one off-world. His opponent has pushed into two with a bunch of extra additional buildings.
Just disappointed in you.
And I feel like usual, kind of the expansive player, he took the first punch and he's just looking like he's ready to run away with this game, honestly. There was a freeze, which is good, down onto the food and the off-world of Blackmagic, but look how close Blackmagic is to maybe getting to finish up this game. I mean, he's at 64%. Zuzani has to buy one more stock, and he will force this game longer and later. However, once again, does he have any edge where the late game actually benefits him in a serious and significant way? He does grab out that last little bit of stock after just throwing down another little dry ice condenser, a wind turbine. So he is going to push this game late, but where's his edge? I just don't see it anywhere this game. As a scientist, he is trying to do what he can, potentially, to maybe abuse this high water price, but he might not know that Blackmagic is actually just sitting on 500 water already and has made that almost unassailable. So we're going to have to see what Zuzani does with that. He has a hacker array of his own down, which is nice. But where's his edge? Where does it, what aspect of the game does he abuse from this point? You have to think in order to finish it up. Does he try and make a ridiculous play on glass, which his opponent is completely out of right now? Maybe combine that with some weird work with silicon, and he's actually just going to get his off-world mutinied away. That's going to cost him potentially, yeah, that's going to cost him his black market cooldown. Just defending himself. So not only is he behind on off-world markets, but he's been pushed into a defensive position against his opponent, whose second off-world is going to unfreeze momentarily. He has an electronics shortcoming. His electronics production is back online, with upgrades running from the engineering labs onto food and electronics. Still just one at a time, apparently, but if it's good enough, it's good enough. And Blackmagic can now just kind of sit back. His opponent's stock he's done fighting over. He needs to secure one more of his own, but that shouldn't be a major issue when you've got 400 water sitting around at $72 a piece, right? For now, it looks like he's trying to just kind of ride out this electronics production. I am worried if he doesn't secure that last little bit of stock, right? Ooh. This may be a bit of a mistake on the mutiny there. Bit of a misclick going on. I'm sure that was aimed at the off-world, and then just happened to not hit in exactly the right spot. That is the kind of thing that could let Zuzani back in the game, let's be honest. Wasting a 1-minute black market cooldown, doing almost nothing. Not where you want to be. Hack is going for Blackmagic. He's in those electronics, working away. Zuzani's hacker array is doing that glass short that we discussed. However, look how much glass he actually has available right now. It's 0. That's how much glass he's sitting on at the moment. It's none. There is some flying in, which is good, and it looks like he might have bought into some a little bit as well, but it's really not the best way to abuse the shortages, I think. Alright, Blackmagic. All the stock has been secured at that point. Hack goes off. Blackmagic just says, alright, well, I'll take all that. Thank you very much. He actually used the mutiny appropriately this time. Managed to click on the off-world market. That's the kind of thing we want to see. That's 3 off-worlds available for Blackmagic compared to none for Zuzani. Zuzani does have a cash lead at the moment, but it's very slim. He has a stock disadvantage. He has an advanced building disadvantage. He has a tech disadvantage. He has an off-world disadvantage. I think that without anything major seriously shaking this up, we're just going to see Blackmagic sit back and take it from here. Now, we haven't really been paying a whole lot of attention to debt this game, and Blackmagic does have a bit more. So he is going to have to watch out for dipping down into that D range, because he's going to want to make sure that he has access to the black market at all times this game. But we're just going to have to see exactly how it goes down. All right. About an even game now in terms of cash. Zuzani just falling further and further behind. I just don't see, once again, any setup that he's done for himself to allow himself to come back from this point. He's still got a wind turbine sitting over here, doing very, very little. It's a very weak wind turbine. Could be a dry ice condenser. That would be nice. He is trying to work this glass shortage and see if he can kind of find his edge somewhere with that. But once again, the entire time he's working these glass shortages, his opponent has just found chemicals, found electronics. He's making those work for himself okay. Still got those dry ice condensers down to secure enough carbon to kind of make this play work. Still has all that food down that's well researched enough that it can't really be attacked easily by doing anything too crazy by buying up water. And we're just going to have to... I don't think it's going to happen. Blackmagic, however, has fallen to that D range, and Zuzani is 56% of the way there to killing him. I don't know, Blackmagic, it looked like trying to kind of work with the glass shortage, a bit of a dangerous thing to do. But he has managed to push to 75, 76%. Zuzani is barely at that 50 range, kind of teetering around there. Glass shortage coming in now. Zuzani definitely going to get the benefit out of that, but at the same time, a chem shortage coming through for Blackmagic, and he'll be making all kinds of money on that. So once again, I'm really thinking this game's going to end up finishing in just a moment here. Blackmagic has identified that he is at least very, very close to finishing this one off. 374 out of the about 400 that he needs. One more Offworld launch will almost certainly clean this up. He could, in fact, potentially just cancel out of his Offworld launches, cancel his hack, just get rid of all that, cancel his upgrade out of the engineering lab, push to it immediately, but no. The Offworld launch goes through. He's going to go ahead and take it 2-1 in that series on over to Blackmagic in game number 3. All right. Good stuff. I worry about scientists in 1v1 most of the time. They certainly have their strengths, but it is very difficult to abuse some of them. There's less black market hitting you quite frequently if you get a lead of some sort. You can't really abuse the patent lab bonuses too easily. Prices don't go as nuts, so you pulling resources straight out of the ground, maybe not as beneficial. And I think we saw all of those things, like all of those advantages, not taking place that game, right? Most of the time, those things, just those benefits that are supposed to come with scientists didn't really happen. And in the case of the glass, I think it ended up being a fairly huge negative, honestly. Like having to put the glass furnaces way out here, I think worked very heavily against Zuzani. The 2 magnetic storms we saw seemed to have a fairly major impact on slowing Zuzani down just enough for Blackmagic to kind of eke out that edge that he needed and then carry it on through home. So that was very interesting to see that game to me. Looks like Zuzani succeeded in making a bit more money on world, but once again, only 3 launches off world. They were all glass, which is very strange because he was trying to short glass as well, and that's not really how you want things to go down. Whereas Blackmagic was sending the much more expected food for a pretty reasonable profit with just a few oxygen launches in there. I do like that Zuzani identified glass was surprisingly strong in the off-world, but you don't really want to be trying to short the resource that you're also sending off-world. It just creates a bit of an odd situation overall. An interesting game. It was nice to see a different game for game number 3 as well. That didn't look at all like either of the first 2. I still question the engineering labs. I don't like them. We saw that definitely 2 weren't necessary, because almost only 1 was ever being used at any given time. But it's hard to argue with a win. Blackmagic pulls it off. He's going to be moving on to a round of 8. I don't think we know who he's going to be up against next, but we can take a look potentially and see what the options are. So if we go over to the brackets, we can see that, oh wow, it's Soren Johnson against Red Sparrow. One of those 2 are going to be the person facing off against Blackmagic during the next round. That's a hard one to call. Soren, potentially the favorite. He is the semi-finalist from the last tournament, but that was some time ago. And maybe Soren's been a bit busy lately. Maybe he's tripping up a little bit. And Red Sparrow, I know he's been playing quite a bit lately. been practicing, so I don't think that one's anywhere near calling right at this moment.